The next thing is, I think, to just start looking at the basics, like where you begin with a garment. I think one that's always really good to look at is a jacket. This has been partially pulled apart so that we can actually have a look at it in pieces as well. But more often than not, you're actually going to want to take a pattern from a garment without in any way damaging it or spoiling it. So we'll move on to leather a little bit later, because of course there are problems with fabrics that you can't trace through or pin into. There's added complications, because with this you can very carefully mark points through into the paper, either by using a pin, by using a tracing wheel, all the ways that you would normally trace from one piece of paper to another. Instead, we're just taking the information from a garment and onto the paper. So when it's fabric, understandably it's much easier, because we can, if it's quite coarse and we're not overly precious about it and we can find the seam, we can actually use an awl gently to go through areas that we need to. Or we can use a tracing wheel. Generally, I would recommend you use this sort of a tracing wheel, which has much finer points on it, rather than, I think, there's tracing wheels around that look more like they're for making cakes. They're not really going to help you that well, because they haven't got a sharp enough point to actually go through and put very clear markings onto the paper to give you... It's basically dot to dot when you start using something like this. So you need as much information as you can get going through onto the paper. So the sharper and longer the points are, naturally the easier it's going to be to read the information at the end. Is that all quite clear so far? Okay.